Everyone, thank you very much for coming. This is just, I am scrolling through this um, entire Zoom call here. If you are familiar with Zoom, I highly suggest that you throw it on that gallery view and you take a look at all of the faces that are here today. This is what this movement is about. This is grassroots, and I'm so excited to see all of these lovely faces. I see some old and some new faces. Um, Hi, everyone. My name is Christian Sanchez, and I'm a mechanical engineer turned field organizer for Congresswoman Axne. Um, Before I get started and I tell you my story, I want to see some hands. So, can I just see like hands or a thumbs up? I want to see everybody in your involvement. We can't cheer, but I can certainly see hands. Yes, I love that. Allison, Julie, Rachel, Sarah, Michael McCarthy. I see Will Pyle going a little left and right. I love to see that. Love this. I'm scrolling through this and watching all of your reactions. I hope you are all seeing everyone else's too. Thank you for coming. So let me tell you a little bit about why I'm here and why we are all gathered today. Um, I was a mechanical engineer just 6 weeks ago. Okay. And I became an engineer to help people and to change the world. I was working on really cool stuff, high speed aerodynamics. We were modeling the Martian atmosphere for re entry vehicles. We were doing stuff for aerodynamics for objects moving like 25 times the speed of sound. So it was really, really cool stuff. And I took that and then went into the energy sector and quickly worked my way up there, taking leadership roles. And I got onto an international product line implementing really cool like machine learning and artificial intelligence technology. And my strategy as an engineer was to make our product the number one in the world. That's what I wanted to do. It was an international product line and I was in charge of it. And that's what I was doing. My career was thriving, okay? But the country around 2020, I saw was just not exactly where I wanted it to be. And I didn't feel like humanity was entirely ready for the stars. I just knew that we had work that we needed to get done here on planet Earth. So I didn't waste a single second when I realized that I needed to move into a field where I could get humanity to a place where we could actually become that race that would be something that I'm proud to send out into the stars. And so that's why I'm here. I believe in Congresswoman Cindy Axne, and I believe in what she stands for. And I believe we need women like her in positions where they can make change and they can stand for things that we all are here gathered together for, that we all believe together. This campaign is grassroots. We have claimed this virtual space. We cannot gather in person, unfortunately, but we are all here on this Zoom call together. And I'm so excited to see all of these faces here that are getting together no matter what the odds are. And with that said, that's really beautiful, but we have a ton of work to do. This race is going to come down to just a handful of votes. So just like it did in 2018 when we only won by 2%, this year will not be any easier. I want everyone at this rally to step up and get involved. I gave up my career so that way I could get women like Congresswoman Axne elected and to secure their seats, men and women, but I love to see women in positions where they need to be, that they haven't always been represented in the past. And so we can't do this alone. We win as a community and we work together as a community. And it starts with reaching out to your fellow Iowans and telling them why you support Congresswoman Axne. And we are asking you all to make some phone calls. So we have volunteering events coming up. There are ways that you can get involved, and you all here need to do it because 2020 is the year. The gears of history are turning, and if there was any time for you to get involved, this year is that time. So it's as simple as picking up your phone and just calling your neighbors and telling them why you believe in Congresswoman Axne and why you believe that they should vote for her, and helping them come up with a plan to vote. So with that said, I want to go ahead and start lighting up this chat. If I can get everyone in here to light up this chat with times that they can get involved, we have a weekend of action coming up this weekend. Mail-in ballots drop October 5th. That's 20 days from now. That's 3 weekends left to call fellow Iowans and persuade them to vote for Cindy. So this Saturday, the 19th, at 9 a.m. and 12 p.m., we're making phone calls. Can you join us? This Sunday, the 20th, at 12 o'clock and at 3 o'clock, we are making phone calls. Can you contribute your time? We're also gearing up for Election Day on November 3rd, and we're getting ready for our Get Out the Vote efforts in October. And we need to call thousands of Iowans before Election Day and make sure everyone has a plan to vote. So can you get in on that as well? So if you look here, we have all of the times. We have Saturday, the 19th, this Saturday, 9 a.m. and 12 p.m., Sunday, the 20th, 12 p.m. and 3 p.m. to persuade Iowans to vote for Cindy before they put their mail-in ballots on October 5th. We have Get Out the Vote actions for you. And let me see where this chat is at. All right. I see 62 new messages. Look at all of these. Please put in your first and last name and time that you can contribute. I'd love to see this. This chat is lit up. Sophia, if you can get me some music going, please get that music started. I want that music going with everybody putting when they can get with the Axne campaign. We have Get Out the Vote, October 10th and 11th, the 10th, the 17th and the 18th. We have the 24th through the 29th. We have Election Day GOTV, the 31st through the 3rd. Please see these sign up times on this window here and pick a time and put it in the chat and we will get you signed up. I'd love to see it. Rosie Thier, thank you so much. Organizers, if you can hop into the chat and light that chat up. Yes, Rita Bresnan, Saturday 9 to 12. Thank you so much. Anna Myers, Sunday, the September 20th. Thank you very much. We appreciate these shifts are rolling in. Jackson Boaz, one of our organizers on the chat. Thank you very much for signing up. We love to see it. Thank you. Thank you very much. We see some folks that saying that they're already signed up. You are also proactive and we love to see it. Awesome. We are looking great. Look at this. Elizabeth Warren, Saturday, September 19th at 9 a.m. Thank you. From all the way from Montgomery County Precinct 4. Thank you. We appreciate it. Do we need someone? Oh, wow. We have people stepping up. Thank you very much. Jesse Phillips. All right. Thank you. We love to see it. Yes. All right. We are seeing folks coming in. Thank you very much. I'm going to call out, I'm going to put this gallery view back on and see all of these faces. All right. And I know some of you all already are volunteering with us. Trista Pierce, I'm calling you out. I also see Doug Hoffman in here. I see Peter Nielsen. I know you've been an avid text banker. Thank you for coming. Those of you that are volunteering with us for the first time or have not volunteered with us, get involved. This is the time to do it. There is no better time to get involved than this year. We've seen the news. If you are wanting to push the needle and to make that change, this is a great way that you can do it. So thank you very much for the support. All right. Okay. So, everyone, we so very much appreciate what we have just seen in this chat box. I just saw hundreds of folks shifting and getting involved, and that is why we are here. This is grassroots, and I'll just keep saying that. We cannot do this without you. So, thank you very much. And without further ado, we have Congresswoman Cindy Axne joining us on the call. And I'm going to go ahead and let her take it away. So, everybody, put your hands up, put thumbs up. Cindy Axne is joining us, and she is going to go ahead and speak now. So, Congresswoman Axne, if you can go ahead and hop onto this and take yourself off of mute and take it away. Thank you.
Well, hello, everybody. Thank you so much for being here tonight. Christian, my goodness, how were we so lucky to take you away from mechanical engineering and get you to help us protect our republic and ensure that our democracy stands? Thank you. You're amazing. I'm looking forward to spending some hopeful time in person someday. Listen, I'm coming at you from the room that I rent out here in Washington, D.C. We just had multiple votes today, and we're working on lots of bills to make sure that we help folks with the COVID issues that we're facing, of course, and then make sure that we keep government open. I'm glad you're all here today, because when I started my first term, I came into the term with a shutdown government fully led by Republicans, a Republican Senate, a Republican House, and a Republican administration that truly had to shut down government because they could not come together on a budget. My goodness, I know that we can do so much better than that. And we in the House have been proving that and trying to do everything possible to improve the lives of the people here in this country. But I couldn't be doing it without all of you. So I'm so glad you're here tonight. It's hard to believe that we're 50 days out from this election. And I'm so grateful to have so many of you who supported Mayor Pete in his incredible run for the presidency and what will continue to be a key player in our country's democracy. We're so grateful to have Pete on our side, helping us to move our agenda forward that literally brings hope and opportunity to people in this state and across this country. And I notice we've got folks from all across the country. So thank you so much for everybody being here. I'm incredibly grateful. I want to make sure that we really talk about some of the issues. So when you go out and you're talking to people on the phone or you're texting, you can have my voice. The voice of, quite honestly, our democratic values for our country, values that help hardworking families make ends meet, values that understand that every single person in this country deserves to have quality, affordable health care. And if I can talk to you about some of the things we're working on, I'm hoping that you might, all of you signing up and keep going, we love it, we'll be able to articulate some of those issues. I wanted to let you know that all of you who are still looking for opportunities, we've got our weekend of action coming up. You've just seen it on there, and we need all the help that we can get. This is going to be one of the toughest races in this country. It will continue to be this way, and never for a minute should we believe that that's going to change. Iowa's a tough place for Democrats to run in general, but I think that myself, along with my great colleague Abby Finkenauer, we're showing people that we meant it when we said it. We're out there to work for everybody, and we are working hard to make sure that we bring things home to the people in our district. And I'll tell you what, when I got out here, after we got through the government shutdown, got through getting the support we needed for our flood victims, I remember taking a breather for a second on the House floor. And I looked up at the big voting screen, shows everybody's last names, and how they voted. And I thought, my gosh, there are 50 representatives from California. There are 40 from New York, 30 from Florida, and on and on. We've got 10 representatives. 4 representatives. I've got to be the voice of 10 to make sure that Iowa gets what it needs. And I am dedicated to our state to make sure that not only do we bring opportunity to the people in the 3rd district and across the great state of Iowa, but for many of you who helped out Pete and you're on this call from around the country, that I'm there to hold the Democratic House majority, protect our country, and move all the opportunities forward that we've been working on so much in the House. Listen, we only have 3 weeks until the ballots drop. Christian talked about that, and we need your help in talking to these undecided voters in this district. And by the way, folks, we have a lot of independents in our district, and we have a lot of folks who are undecided. We have a lot of people who have met me who know I'm bringing home opportunity for Iowans, but they may be hearing things in the news or on TV that are false about what Democrats stand up for. I wish I could tell them all myself, but I sure need all of you to make sure that that message gets out there. So if you can't join us this weekend, and I hope you can, all of you who are here, don't worry, there's plenty more opportunity coming up. We need to do everything we can in these next 50 days. We leave nothing on the table until we win this election, because I know we're all going to sleep a lot more soundly on November 4th when we see a Democratic White House, Senate, and House. And my race is one of the 8 most crucial races in the nation. And folks, it's because not only can I protect our House majority by staying in this seat, but with your help, we can influence voters coming to the polls to support me, and they'll most likely support other Democrats, Teresa Greenfield for Senate and Joe Biden for the presidency. So your work is a trifecta. When I am one of the most important races in the nation, the impact that we can have is huge. So if you can't make it this weekend, please sign up for another shift. If you're ready to commit by joining this weekend at any time in these next 50 days, go ahead and write directly into the chat, as Christian has mentioned, but keep that chat box going. We need all the support that we can get. And remember, folks, we used to spend a lot of time knocking on doors. We don't get that chance to have some of these solid opportunities with people. And so it's so important that so many of you are taking the time to do this. And I couldn't be more grateful, because as Christian said, this is about grassroots. I ran for this race to make sure that Iowans had an opportunity when I was disappointed with the decisions being made in Washington that I knew were hurting my family. And if they were hurting mine, I knew they were hurting my community and other members in it. And it's because of all of you and the action that you're ready to take that we're going to win this seat again and move agendas forward that actually can help us move those hundreds of Democratic House bills we've got into opportunity for people across our great district. We know, and I want to make sure I bring this up, that a lot of Iowans are going to vote by mail this year. And that's why it's so important that we get out the vote early. I believe Christian mentioned the date. I think you said October 3rd, if I'm correct? What was that, Christian? 5th, thank you. So we've got to make sure that all of our supporters know that they've got to return their ballots in time and make sure that those votes get counted. So we've got a short period of time by which we have a lot of work to do. I wanted to tell you a little bit more about me. For those of you who aren't familiar with me and you have joined this call, whether it's because of Pete, who I'm so grateful for everything he's done and continues to do for so many great Democrats, or because you just want to help Iowa. You know, we're a big battleground state. And while COVID has really changed how we're able to campaign this year, I'm so grateful that you guys are here, because we have to reach people in their homes. And that's why we have to get these phone banks going, texting, and of course, postcarding. In my first year in Congress, just so you all know, I visited all 16 counties in my district at least once a month. I was named the most accessible freshman member of Congress by the Town Hall Project because I held more public town hall events than any other freshman member. And by the way, that's any member in the House, because I was 3rd in all of Congress behind 2 Republican senators that I'm going to have to take down this year and earn that title all the way straight at the top. So I'm very proud of that. And I think one of the issues that people really want to see out of their representatives is hard work. And certainly we want to see that in Iowa. For those of you who aren't as familiar with Iowa as I am as a 5th-generation Iowan, we believe in the value of hard work, of community, of helping others. And really, quite honestly, many people will take a look at me as a candidate. Maybe they have an R behind their name, but if they believe in those things, they'll take a look at me. And it's our job and your job, thank you for doing this, to make sure that we articulate all of those issues that I've been working on for them, so that they do want to say, you know what, I'm going to give her a chance. I know she's been working hard for us, and I shouldn't care about what letters behind her name. I should care about somebody who's going to help my family. And that's what we need all of you to make sure we articulate to people this weekend. You know, I mentioned earlier that I got into this race because I was really fed up. We had a government that wasn't listening to Iowans and the problems we were having. Our representatives were voting to take away health care. They were voting to take away coverage for people with pre-existing conditions. They were giving tax breaks to the wealthy at the expense of so many people in this country. And they were making it easier for American companies to outsource, making it much more opportunity for them, more lucrative. I fought back against that in my role in financial services and have written bills to ensure that we don't outsource jobs out of this country that's been happening under this president's administration. And I I'm not going to give up. In the process, I've helped myself and Abby Finkenauer become the first two women elected to the US House from Iowa. And that what that means, folks, is I've got to make sure that they know that first and foremost, this isn't a fluke. This is myself and Abby are both two women who will stand up and literally fight tooth and nail for our state. I've been described as sweet as pie but tough as nails, and I would say that's Abby Finkenauer as well. We go out there and we listen to the people that we represent, and we take what they need back with us to Washington. And there was a time on the floor last year when literally at the very end, before we came back for Christmas, where we had to finalize what's called tax extenders, and we had to get the United States-Mexico-Canada agreement passed. And we were having some difficulties getting those things. And those were deliverables for Iowa, big deliverables for Iowa. And I had been actively working with leadership to move this agenda forward. And there was a day just before we left to come back for recess, and myself, along with Abby Finkenauer behind me and Dave Loebsack, we were charging up to meet the speaker on the floor again. She turns around and literally grabs my shoulders and says, "I know. USMCA and biodiesel tax extenders." I'm like, fine, my job's done for the day. I'll see you in the morning. And we don't stop till we get this stuff done for Iowa. And I intend to do everything I can in an administration under a Joe Biden and a Senate that will work with us to do everything we possibly can to improve the lives of the people in our district. Unfortunately, COVID has laid bare so much of the systemic inequities that we know have existed all along. Issues of people being able to afford their health care and feel like they can go in to see a doctor when they don't have insurance, when they've been denied insurance or they lost their job. This is not how we should be operating in this country. We have folks who are working two jobs, single moms, so that they can get the prescription for their daughter. I talked to a woman in Des Moines. She's one example among many. I've talked to folks who are taking half of their insulin so that they can make it last because they can't afford it. Because they either keep the lights on for their family and the heat going, or they take their insulin. This is not the place where we should be in this country. And I'm so glad to see so many young people on this Zoom call right now, because the issues that we're facing in this future are squarely issues that are so important to you. We're moving towards a climate change, obviously, that we've got to address. And in the House, we are ready for that. We have been working on climate bills. I've been a part of a key task force to advise them on what we could be doing in Iowa from a sustainability perspective to make sure that we have a seat at the table. I ran the state's energy and environment plan under Governor Culver and helped make Iowa #2 in wind production in the country. And I know we've got so much more opportunity for that, for solar, for biofuels, for so many things that can protect our soil, help our farmers have better yields, and help our environment and move us away from the damages of climate. So there are so many important issues that have always been on the table, but are even more amplified as we deal with COVID. It has laid bare the inequities in this country. It has laid bare the fact that too many people have always been left behind. And now, unfortunately, they're the first to see the impacts of COVID hit them, their families, and their communities. And that's why it's so important that you're doing the work that you're doing this weekend and all the way through to the election, because we do not have a minute to waste. We have 50 days left. I know none of us wants to see what a second term of President Trump will be, and certainly none of us want to see what a Democratic minority would look like. Because even though I truly believe that this is the most important election of our lifetimes, it's a darn close to the one that we had last time. Had we not flipped seats like Abby and me and some of my good friends, Kendra Horn in Oklahoma, Susie Lee in Nevada, Angie Craig, all these folks who took these seats that, and Max Rose, Anthony Brindisi in New York, seats that people thought we could never flip. And we flipped these seats. And in doing so, we were able to save our country during a time when this administration is in the process of dismantling so much of what you all have grown up with and what you consider dear to you. So I'm so grateful that you're here because we have to do this. Getting me reelected helps our entire country, helps every single person who lives here, helps us retain the majority so that we can move this agenda forward, and ensures that as we move out of COVID, we actually think about the issues long term and put in place policy that will actually protect people from here through the rest of the history of our country. This is our opportunity. There's never been a better opportunity to put forth those democratic values of affordable quality health care, of lowering the cost of prescription drugs, of making sure families have living wages, of ensuring that every kid has a post-secondary education, of equalizing what I should be our great equalizer, our public school system, lowering the cost of student loan debt, making sure that we address the issues of climate change. Just listen to that list. But I know none of us last time when I ran were doing this because of pessimism. None of us were doing it out of cynicism. None of us were trying to do everything we possibly could to elect me and others across this country. We were doing it out of hope. And I want you to make sure that you retain that. And it's so great to be on here with so many of Pete's supporters because I think Pete had such a great message of hope and opportunity for people. So I appreciate all of you coming on to support me, to help me continue in that vein, because that's what we have to be doing. We have to be hopeful. We have to know that all of these opportunities, folks, they really are within our reach. We are this close. We have the Democratic House majority, the Senate, and the presidency all within our grasp. We have the opportunity to take those hundreds of bills that are festering at the steps of the Senate and actually turn those into policy. We have an opportunity to learn from what's happening in our country right now, whether it's COVID or social unrest as a result of the issues related to Black Lives Matter and making sure that we close the inequity gaps across this country. So be hopeful. Because I look at this as a time in our country where we really can make positive changes. I don't want you young folks to live in this world where you're supposed to have less opportunity than I have. You're going to be the first generation of people that have less opportunity. Let's change that. I want to give you more opportunity. And we can do that if we continue to elect me and other Democrats to the House, to the Senate, and to the presidency. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I couldn't be doing this without you. I truly mean it. I'm really willing to come out here and fight the hard fight for the next couple of years. But with all of you, I know we can not only get me back out here, but we can flip the Senate and take the presidency. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. We appreciate it. Thank you for all of the beautiful words. Everyone, if you could see that there's a reaction button, it's the very last button on the right at the bottom. If you want to put a thumbs up or a clapping symbol, there you go. And you can clap for Congresswoman Axne. Thank you very much, Congresswoman. We really appreciate all of the words that you have spoken. It's invaluable that we get this time with you. There is no wonder why you were the most #1 accessible person. So with that said, we have another speaker coming up here. So I'm going to go ahead and give it away to Sandy Dixon, one of our key volunteers here at the Axne campaign. So once again, thank you, Congresswoman Axne, and go ahead and give it away to Sandy Dixon. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Sandy Dixon, and I'm retired. I live in Windsor Heights, Iowa, with my partner, Larry. My daughter and two grandsons live in the area, and my son lives in the smoky Seattle area. Before I start, please think about how you felt after the 2016 election. I'm going to tell you some highlights from my experience volunteering briefly. My earliest campaign volunteering was for Tom Harkin. He's a very familiar name here in Iowa because he was our US Senator for many years. I remember that day clearly because my daughter was in a stroller and I walked around our neighborhood reminding people to vote. In 2008, I took off work on election day to again remind people to vote. I remember that day too, because as I knocked on doors, people were upbeat. There was an energy and a buoyancy in the air. It felt like the voters and I shared a happy secret. Somehow we knew that Obama would win that day. I'm sure you remember how you felt after the day after the 2016 election. Like many of you, I was in shock, not believing what had happened. I felt like I'd been kicked in the stomach. After being in a funk for several months, I became angry, the good kind of anger. I vowed to get more involved in 2020. The most I have ever been involved is during the last 12 months, especially with the Iowa caucuses. I had heard Mayor Pete speak in April at Franklin Junior High, and I remember thinking, wow, this guy has a bright future ahead of him. In the fall, I went to the Polk County Democrats' steak fry, which attracted nearly all of the presidential candidates. As people grouped themselves around their candidate, I found the Pete Buttigieg campaign and heard him informally speak to his supporters. I decided then and there that he was my candidate. I volunteered with the Pete campaign by hosting a few short-term campaign workers. I went door to door talking with people about the issues important to them, who they were supporting, and why I was supporting Mayor Pete. Then I was asked to be the precinct chair for Mayor Pete in my precinct. I had doubts about it because it involved more responsibility, and I wondered if I was up to it. My hesitation came from my mistaken idea that people who take on such roles are somehow extraordinary, and they just naturally have a calling or gift for this kind of work. Over many years, I've come to realize that these extraordinary people are you and me. They are ordinary people doing extraordinary things. So I carefully thought about it and said yes to being precinct chair. It was exhilarating to be involved and see my candidate do well. 2020 is the election to do more, because I don't know about you, but I don't ever want to feel like I did in 2016. I'm now volunteering with the Cindy Axne campaign, a hardworking and well-organized campaign, just like the candidate herself. I am a strong supporter because I had a family member on the Affordable Care Act when David Young promised to support it and later caved because he didn't want to lose campaign money. We'll never forget this vote. Now we need help, and we're asking for yours. Will you join us this weekend to make calls and later on with Get Out the Vote? Just write in the chat box what shift you want to commit to. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Sandy. We do appreciate it. Thank you very much. So please write in the chat box once again how you can contribute. Wonderful. So, thank you all very much for coming. Thank you, Sandy, for those beautiful words and the beautiful story. Door knocking is a beautiful thing. We wish that we could be doing that this year, but we are doing some virtual door knocking. We're doing it virtually. We can still. So we are going to go ahead and start transitioning here very soon. We have Buttigieg on the call, but we're going to give it one more minute here for everybody to write their comments in the chat box. We want to keep the energy. Thank you so much.
The skin, so keep on pushing.
Dixon, you are getting a lot of praise in the chat box. So Sandy, if you're seeing that chat box, go look at all of the people that just resonated with your very beautiful words. We're going to go ahead and transition here. We're going to go ahead and give it to Mayor Pete Buttigieg. Thank you very much for coming, Mr. Buttigieg. We appreciate you taking the time to speak with us. So go ahead and take it away. Take yourself off of mute. Thank you very much.
Well, thanks so much to you, Christian, and to the whole team for everything that you're doing. Thank you, Sandy, for everything you did on the campaign and for inspiring us. And thank you, Cindy Axne, for what you were doing in the United States Congress. Yes, with your district almost ridiculously and obsessively at heart, but also making the entire country better off. This is so exciting. And I know we've all been on enough Zooms that we know you're supposed to look at the camera because you know your eyes drift to the screen and people can tell you're not looking at the camera. But my eyes keep drifting to the screen because I'm looking at the faces of so many people, and this is the next best thing to being in a room together. And I see so many people who were such an amazing part of our historic campaign. And I see a whole bunch of other people who I know were acting just as enthusiastically for one of the other candidates, whether it was Joe Biden or one of the other Democrats. And I'm so excited that all of us are now on the same page, on the same team, and in the same cause, because we have the same values, and it couldn't be more important. Sandy was throwing me back to memories of the steak fry, and what an amazing day it was, just a beat ahead of the rain, out there with thousands of people cheering for the candidates they believed in, forming so many amazing relationships. And part of what I can't stop thinking about is, you know, if you tapped me on the shoulder as I was making my way back from the grill at the steak fry to get ready to go up on stage, and you'd said, look, buckle up, because a year from now, the stakes of this election will have become immeasurably higher. I would have looked at you and said, what are you talking about? How's that even possible? How could the stakes be any higher than they already are? And yet here we are. And it is unfathomably important. And it can be bleak. Look, this decade, the 2020s, this decade of ours, has obviously not gotten off to a very good start. The very basics of how you assess how a society is doing, the ability to control disease, fire, political violence. These things are upon us in ways that we didn't think the United States in modern times would face. So that's what we're up against. But I'm actually driven by an even more powerful version of the hope that fueled my campaign. And that's the knowledge that, you know, the story of 2020 hasn't been written just yet. It hasn't come to an end. We actually get to write it. And the most important thing, even though this has been a year full of world historical shocks and events in this country, the most important thing to happen in the year 2020, the most important thing to set up what kind of decade the 2020s are going to be for America, is what's about to happen. And you're part of it. And returning Cindy Axne to Congress is a huge part of it. This is one of the hot rematches in American politics today, because she won one of the tightest races in 2018, and we know it's going to be tight again. We also know why she's the right candidate and why she will win if we all do our part to support her. First of all, the way that she has been so committed to being there for constituents. I think it's 57 town halls just in the first year that she was in Congress. Each of the counties, I think actually a record for the most freshmen of any freshman member of Congress. And look, I know most of the freshman members of Congress, they are a phenomenal group. So to hold that record among that group, that's saying something. And then she figured out a way to do it virtually right away, always in touch with what is at the heart of the issues in her district and facing the people that she serves. She's somebody who has put Southwest Iowa first. She's worked with members of both parties where you can. That's not always easy, especially with what the GOP has become, but she's doing it because it's the right thing to do. She's fighting for skills, training, and not just university degrees, supporting people who are going to college, but making sure that it's more affordable to go to college and making sure that it's more affordable to not go to college, and that everybody is getting support in this economy, whether you go to college or not. Fighting for access to quality healthcare, which is really personal for me and for so many of us. My mother-in-law's fight with cancer would take a dramatic turn for the worse. Not because of anything medically, but because of decisions made in Washington. If her opponent, David Young, got his way. After all, he voted to repeal the ACA. He voted for tax breaks to giant corporations and even was prepared to chip away at Social Security and Medicare. Voted to privatize these essential services. The choice couldn't be clearer. Now, again, we're Democrats. We're a big tent. We've got all kinds of different ideas about exactly how to do certain things, and that's fine. Matter of fact, when we win the White House and Congress, Cindy and her colleagues will go right back to that work and the tug of war of figuring out exactly how we're going to make sure that we defeat climate change before it's too late, exactly how we're going to make sure every American gets health care, exactly what combination of fair tax policies to make the wealthy and corporations pay their fair share, and empowering workers and raising wages is going to work. But don't be mistaken, the decision we're about to make right now as a country is not over the finer points of how we're going to do those things. It's whether we're going to do those things at all. We've got a president right now who is telling the American people that the world is just going to start getting cooler. Because we got a president guiding us through a national emergency, or supposed to be, who told us that the COVID was just going to go away, just disappear. And as a veteran, to see a president characterize the people who I served with and the people who didn't come back as suckers and losers shows you what we're up against as a country. So the choice couldn't be clearer. Now, let me mention something else, not just about how important it is that we retain and expand the House majority that Cindy Axne is part of, but also about the particular style of politics she's bringing. Because she comes from a district where you've got to earn every vote. She's going to have an instinct. She's going to have a vocabulary. She's going to have a spirit of common sense, as she has demonstrated during her time in Congress so far. That is exactly what we need, not just in order to win, but in order to govern, in order to actually get the things done that we're going to have to. And that's so important, because what's up ahead of us now, this isn't just how we navigate COVID. This isn't just how we get our economy back right side up. This is like one of those moments that come around maybe once or twice in a century. The immediate decisions we make as a country in the next few months are nothing less than the decisions about how our politics and our economics are going to work for the rest of our lifetimes. Those are the stakes, and we need someone like her in Washington helping to guide those decisions. That's what you're part of making happen by being part of this. Now, I don't know how you like to phone bank. I'll tell you, even though I love being around people, even though I've run for office and held office, I'm an introvert. It is not my instinct to knock on the door of a total stranger and intervene to ask them to support my candidate. And it's not in my instinct, as a matter of kind of personal comfort, to just pick up the phone and call people. And so a big part of how I've done that as a campaign volunteer over the years and as somebody just involved in one campaign after another has relied on being able to do it in person. You walk through the door of a campaign headquarters and there's the smell of coffee, and you look around and you see the volunteer to your right and the volunteer to your left. And from that, you get this sense of community. and this sense of social capital that makes it easier to go out and do that. It's one of the things that excited me when I first visited Iowa, when I was in South Central Iowa. They sent me to Creston to go knock on doors for Barack Obama as a volunteer just before New Year's Eve 2007, 2008, and ever since. And I know that in a very cruel way, we've been prevented from doing it the way we're used to doing it. But that's what's amazing about this gathering we're having right now. Every day, multiple times a day when I'm on TV, I get some version of the question, how are Democrats going to compete in this COVID era? Especially because, unlike this president, we respect the health and safety of our supporters and voters. And, in cases where we can safely campaign, we'll do it. But you're not going to see us packing people into an indoor space, knowing that the president had no conscience about doing that. We're going to have to do it differently. And so whenever I hear that question, that hand wringing even, how can you possibly campaign if you're worried about that? Well, this is the answer. The answer is us. The answer is to find new ways to do those things we've got to do. Look, Cindy is already doing the things she's supposed to be doing as a candidate. She's engaging with advocacy groups. She's speaking to the media. She's raising the funds that she needs to compete. She's connecting with voters. She's, again, almost obsessively listening to every concern of every voter she can. She's doing what she's got to do. And even though it's different, it's in some ways not that different. But what the rest of us have to do as her supporters, we got to learn to do that in a different way. That's what this is all about. That's why the training you're about to experience is so important. That's why I'm really excited to see you, but it's all about making sure that we get those all important signups as well. We've got the weekend of action coming up this coming weekend. Remember, just 3 more weeks until ballots drop. So potentially only 3 more opportunities to have those persuasion conversations with undecided voters. And then, of course, GOTV. You've got the folks somehow deciding how they're going to vote. And then we got folks deciding whether they're going to vote. And we've got to reach every one of them. And some of them are going to be new at the whole get out to vote by mail thing. So we've got to make sure that our supporters are returning their ballots. That's what we're doing right here. And yeah, it's different. And yeah, I wish we were all in a room together, and I can't wait till we are again. But you are proving by figuring out how to gather virtually, take those signups, reach out to voters, which is the fundamental job of anybody supporting a candidate at a time like this. And we're just going to do it in a new way. So I just want to encourage you in that work. I want to thank you for that work because I know you have been tireless. This has been the kind of year that just, it's like the year itself has been punching us in the face every day. But again, we're coming up to that moment where we get to write a different ending, a better ending to the story of what happened in America in 2020. And for the rest of our lives, we'll be able to say that we were doing what it took to make sure that this year came to a good ending and that this decade was in for a good beginning. So thanks for everything that you're doing. Again, pay close attention to this training, and please sign up for as many shifts as you can do. And from the bottom of my heart, with all sincerity, I mean it when I say I cannot wait until we can safely gather in person again. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pete. If you had told me that, 4 weeks ago that I would get to close out an event with Pete Buttigieg and Cindy Axne, I would have thought you were ridiculous. And I feel a little giddy right now. So this is such an incredible opportunity. And if my convincing and my cajoling you to get on the phones can't do it, I feel like there's nothing I could throw at you that Cindy and Pete haven't already said today. And so I'm so grateful to them for both coming here to share their experience. We have 2 incredibly successful campaigners here to tell you what it takes to make a campaign work. And it's you guys, it's the volunteers. One person cannot win an election by themselves. We can only win when we have all of these incredible people that are all signed onto the Zoom to make calls with us. So today I'm going to start by leading us through a training on how to make these phone calls. I swear it is not very difficult. And if every single person who's still on the Zoom made 20 calls today, we would call 4,000 undecided voters, which is incredible. This is a numbers game. This is all about how many people we can get out, because one person who calls 24 hours a day cannot call nearly as many as 200 people who call for a couple hours. And they probably wouldn't have as much fun as we will when we have this entire group together. So please stay on. I'm going to start by sharing my screen and leading you all through a very, very brief but very thorough training on how we're going to phone bank.